All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of That's All Funny with my guest today, who has a YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers. No, the channel is called Boundary Break, where, it takes a point of view from a camera on the video game and kind of goes around and shows you what you might not see. Um, the Honorable She Says. Is that right? She Says?
Yeah, you pretty much got it. It's a show where we basically take the camera anywhere we want to try to find secrets and new discoveries to some of our favorite games.
I
I've
was
said
just
that
about
so many times at this point that
I was
I
about to
got to
ask
commit
that.
it to memory.
Did I describe that correctly? I think you got the better sounding version of that.
Yeah, otherwise perfect, man. Thank you for the introduction.
No, yeah, and it's She Says, is that like a
You,
nickname that was given to you, or you just kind of came up with the moniker, or is there a story behind that, or
yep, there.
mystery?
Sure. It's it's one of those stories where it's like, oh, this will be a great story to tell people, and then as I've told the story over the years, I realize like, oh man, that poor woman needs to just be able to have her privacy at this point. But unnamed names as far as who is involved, but
Mhm.
I the channel started off as a boyfriend girlfriend channel because I wanted to
Okay.
start my own YouTube channel, and then the girlfriend at the time was like, I want to do that too, and I thought, well, at the time there was no like boyfriend girlfriend gaming YouTube channel, so I was like, that might be a cool niche that like gets people to watch. So yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that. And then what happened was there was just sort of like scheduling conflicts and a lot of rules being put in place that stifled my desire to make content. So,
Hmm.
like, I wanted to make a video, and she was like, she says, we can't yet, not until we do a video together. So then we do a video together, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do my video now, and I bang that out in like a week, and then I'm ready to make the next one. But she's like, no, now I have to make my own video. So she says that we can't do this until she makes her own video. So we wait 6 months for her to finish her video, and then I'm like so revved up and ready to go with this next video, but she says that we can't until we do the next video, which is together. So it was like a huge stifling thing. Then the relationship fell apart, and I basically changed the passwords and was like 150 subscribers. That's like a
Oh yeah.
mountaintop of viewership. So like I can't walk away from that.
Oh, of
So
course not.
so from there, I've been trying to figure out like what am I going to do for a channel. And then one day, I found the free cam function on Dolphin, and I found that by accident because I was trying to figure out how to use like the mouse clicker as an IR pointer, and it wasn't as easy back then. And so I was just muddling around with all the options and found Free Look, and I was like, maybe that's it. So I turned it on, and then all of a sudden, I'm moving Punch Out in a way that I've never seen before in my life. And I'm an avid internet user, so seeing the arena for Punch Out in an all new way, I was like, surely somebody has like a whole show about this. And I do all the different searches to try to figure out like what that would be, like Free Look, looking around, moving the camera, nothing. Nobody's doing it. And so I was like, I'll just post a raw clip of what I saw from Punch Out. And it got featured on Go Nintendo, one of my favorite gaming sites, a site that I've tried to submit content to for years, and they never picked it up.
Hmm.
Suddenly, like without even trying, it got put on that website, and I was like, "This is it. This is my calling." And I was like, "I can turn this into a show easy." And so I talked with my friends, and my friend Carl was like, "You should name it Boundary Break." And I was like, "Ooh, that's a great idea." And so I name it Boundary Break, and I make it a whole show. And then that was when I was like, "Okay, now I need to come up with a new channel name because the channel name before that was Pancake and Waffle, which was supposed to represent like." She was a pancake and I was a waffle, and that was like our logo and stuff. So I had to rebrand it, and so I was like, all right, here's a list of things I'm going to do. I'm going to make it 2 syllables so that way people don't forget it from having too many syllables to remember. Like one YouTuber I can think of off the top of my head where I was like this YouTuber, but I can never remember the guy's name. Of course, now I remember it all these years later, but as a YouTube viewer, I couldn't. It was Alpha Omega Sin.
Hmm.
So I was like, I can't. Who is that guy with the beard again? I don't remember. So I was like 2 syllables. So you gotta make it 2 syllables, and I want it to be something that you say in everyday conversation, like popcorn or something. But like, I want it to be something that's uniquely me. So then I was like, okay, now I know that's what I want. So what's it gonna be? And I was like, you know what? Maybe as like a subtle reference to what the channel used to be, I'll call it She Says, and just change how it's spelled. So like it's Shesez, and that way it looks like a name. You say it out loud, and then maybe in everyday conversation you'll be like, hey, can you and Tiffany come to the movies with us later tonight? And be like, oh yeah, she says she'll be ready in like 13 minutes. It's like, oh, she says. I wonder what he's been doing lately. And so, and then go check out the channel or something, or just have it subliminally come up in a conversation later at the movie theater. And that was the idea behind it. And so, the one regrettable part is that it's unique. It's linked to that ex-girlfriend who, at this point really does deserve her own privacy. But still, to this day, I don't mind telling the story. It's just that I always like to preface by saying I do feel bad for that person, but the story is what it is. So there you go. The origin story of She Says.
Well, there's always good that comes from unfortunate events. And I always say, like, and not even your situation, but, our past traumas kind of bring us to who we are today, and I'm not saying to any degree that was like something that was super unfortunate, but it's something you could look back on and it helped become the creation that you are today, without that happening. So there's always good in the bad.
I do believe in that too. I mean, I know a lot of people that unfortunately are warped in a bad way from past trauma, but I will always say that terrible situations help me grow and help me become wiser or more resilient or stronger, things like that. So I agree with you. I'm a person that goes through life and realizes that bad things that happen in life end up becoming a positive somewhere down the line in most cases. So yeah, I'm with you there. Total agreement.
No, definitely. It's like the piece of coal, all the pressure put onto it, and it makes the diamond, come out of the rough.
Absolutely.
Definitely. No, I'd seen yeah, no, so I love Boundary Break. Like I said, I've been watching it for at least, I want to say, 3 years. It came on my radar. I like watching shows like Game Ranks, Summoning Salt, Gaming Historian. I would hold you up to the likings of that. Where I'm like,
Thanks,
man, here's another video. Awesome. I gotta watch it. Having, now your channel, I don't know how long you've been in 1 million subscribers, because you are currently right over a little bit million.
Yeah. That was
mhm.
2020, or maybe I think it was late 2023. Ooh, you know what? Okay, no, you know what? It was, I think, like March of 2023.
Okay,
I
that's
think it was
pretty
around
good.
there. Yeah.
I was like, okay, so that's been over a year, a little over a year.
Yeah.
With whenever you reach that milestone, I'm sure you were amazed by it. That's something that I don't think anyone could ever imagine. How did you feel when you reached that? Because you're saying, you started out with wow, I have 150 subscribers. This is like the craziest thing ever. Awesome. But now to have over 1 million, how does it feel like, or how did you feel in that moment, when you did reach that like milestone?
I felt like I could finally have a giant sigh of relief because, there's certain goals that you have when you get into YouTube. And like once you hit like 500,000 subscribers, what's the next thing? It's going to be to get that freaking play button over there. and like I wanted that so badly. So, you know, a lot of choices that were made were definitely motivated by that goal. And then when I finally got over the 1 million subscribers, it was like, it's weird because some YouTubers will say otherwise. Some YouTubers have talked to me in the past and said like, well, once you hit 1 million, you're suddenly like, well, that's not enough. I want more. For me, it's sort of like, no, I mean, if whatever happens, I at least hit that gold play button. I have that to always remind myself that I've achieved something huge. Like it's so freaking cool. And so when it finally happened, it really was just like, finally, but of course, in the early years, you think like that's not going to happen. There's no
Hmm.
way that I'm ever going to accrue 1 million people, and you're just thankful that you're shocked that you get to 100,000 people. So there's definitely like different times in my career where I've had different feelings about the 1 million subscribers, whether it's possible. you know, whether it's not coming soon enough and stuff like that. It was a wild time, but the fact that I'm finally over that, I've crossed that finish line. It's like, oh, there we go. That's a life achievement that I can at least say it's happened, you know,
Oh,
and
of
like
course.
you can't unhappen that. Like I know
Hmm.
that people can unsubscribe. Please don't unsubscribe, but like you know, they can't take away the button at least. Yeah.
No, yeah, that's amazing. It's hard for anyone to just, and then especially to do something obviously that you love doing. You know, it's not like there are other channels and you could say whatever about what content they're making and if they love it, but it legitimately 100% looks like you love what you do, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
You're
Oh my God.
passionate about it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things it's, you know, to start with, I just want to say that it's been really difficult having such an amazing job because just being passionate and thankful to have a job like this, it has a blowback that you probably wouldn't even imagine. Like the people in your everyday life are constantly sensitive to how much you love your job, and so like they kind of reinterpret it as like rubbing it in their faces or something like that,
Mm.
which I try to avoid at all costs. And I definitely remain humble in spite of what I've been given and what I've been blessed with as far as a career path goes. But, you know, if I'm able to speak freely for a moment, it's like I am so unbelievably thankful and blessed to be able to do this for a living because I love video games so much. And I love entertaining people too. I've always had stage fright and trouble like, you know, just performing for people, but there was always that passion there. And like I think if YouTube had never existed, I would have been like the boom mic guy because I love being involved in entertainment that much, you know. So to have been part of a production in any capacity would have been an amazing gift for me and like what I would want to do with myself. But the fact that with YouTube, it's a one man production, don't have to worry about eyes on me. I can just focus on making it the best I can in a space where it's just me and myself and like I've been able to produce a show that I'm personally proud of, and then also have the audience that I have that watches it too, and it's so rewarding in that regard because it's like I get to work with video games. I love video games. It's my number one hobby. Um, in fact, it's hard to get me to do anything else really. It's funny because a quick aside, some YouTubers came to visit my house, and one of them said like, "Listen, we don't have to play video games. I know that like we're the gaming YouTubers, but like we could skip past that." I was like, "No, no, please, let's not do that because I would really like to play video games." um, so like to have that, and then also be able to do the other passion, which is entertain people, like that. It's such a perfect job for me, and it's a part of my life that like is completely fulfilled. You know, there's always other aspects that we can always strive towards, but like as far as job goes, I'm set for life. Like I hope I can do this till the day I die. I hope there's ways that I can keep myself relevant and keep myself going to be able to entertain people until the end days, because it's just been such a wild ride up to this point.
No, and like I said, it's not that you yeah, you could say, you know, it's your fan base giving back to you, but you've definitely grinded to get to where you have gotten to this point by making the content, by, you know, doing it, by well producing it, taking the time. So yeah, I mean, I feel like you are humble, but at the same time, it just didn't fall into your hands. You did work for it, and it's pretty amazing, you know.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I really do. Yeah, it's oftentimes like so many people just kind of see YouTube and they just sort of be like, oh, it's so easy to do, you know, just get in front of a camera or something like that. And I know that that's not necessarily what I do for my content, but like I always feel bad for like the YouTubers that do just get in front of a camera and do a review or something like that because there's still so much that goes into that production that a regular viewer doesn't take the time to understand. Like they got to do the editing, they got to do the sound balancing, they got to do multiple takes so that it sounds right when they're in front of the camera talking about the thing that they want to talk about. And then, you know, it's they have to come up with a topic that is going to actually excite people, and sometimes that takes time, believe it or not. Like, you can sit there for a while and be like, maybe I'll just talk about Mario. Oh, everyone's talking about Mario right now. What can I talk about that's actually going to get people's attention? And so, like, there's brainstorming basically that I was going to mention there, that like yeah, people just don't see it, but like there's a lot of work hours that go into anybody's channel. So, you know, I have a lot of respect for the craft. And yeah, it's just I appreciate that you kind of see the grind that I've had to put into this show for sure. Like my show in particular, it, you know, I can just speak to my experience. It's like just having to get through the game from top to bottom, just so that there isn't like a need for a part two, or a need for another channel to be like, well, she says never did like the other four dungeons from Ocarina of Time, so let me
Hmm.
cover that. It's like, no, I don't want that avenue to be available. I want to have the whole game experience put into one episode, one definitive episode. And so yeah, I'm working like around the clock just to get through full game experiences and then put it into a 15-minute format video. So yeah, well, thank you for recognizing that. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
No, it's definitely an art, you know, an art and a science, obviously, you know. I was gonna ask, and this is more like on, I wouldn't say the darker side, but more on like the side of, you know, you do have that million subscribers. It's an amazing feat, but also it comes with, I imagine, stress to where you feel like, oh man, am I making the right content? Are my fans, my subscribers, you know, demanding certain time things? Do I need to balance my work and life? You know, I don't know how it is with your personal matters. You know, like it. How is it? How do you find that balance to where you still enjoy what you're doing, what you're creating, but it still doesn't like, you know, you don't like regret it with all the pressure. How do you handle the pressure like that, you know?
So with work and life balance, it really is just sort of like a good YouTuber, in my opinion, will put family and friends first and then work around that. Like, obviously you don't overindulge in family, you don't overindulge in friend, like hanging out and stuff, but you do make time for them. And the luxury of being a YouTuber is that you can work on their schedules. So like, if you know, I don't have a partner right now, but I've definitely had partners while making YouTube videos. And so if my partner was to like come home from work, right, and they want to do something, they want to like go get dinner or whatever, step away from the computer a moment, go have the dinner, enjoy the time with them. And then if they understand you and they understand how your work operates, they'll understand that from there, after dinner's over, you spent some nice quality one-on-one time with them. You put the phone down, you don't look at the analytics, you just focus on the people in your life. And then you get right back into the captain's chair and you grind out, you know? So that's how I would always handle it. I would be like, one of the greatest things about being on YouTube is that we have our own schedules, we are our own boss, and uh, I thankfully just have a good balance of, you know, wanting to enjoy life and then also wanting to work. And so it I tend to like work into the later hours when everyone's winding down. And during the day, if there's a particularly nice day, I'm not going to give myself cabin fever. I'm going to go outside and just enjoy the nice weather for a bit, but also keep it in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, I do have a video that I have to get out, so make sure you do that too. And then as far as burnout, I think is kind of what you're asking too. Like, how do you avoid burnout? Um, for me, it was region break. You know, like doing Boundary Break for so long, it was like such a great novel show, but it does, in my opinion, and in some people's opinion in the comments section, it gets a little repetitive at times. And so to break up the monotony, you know, I came up with the idea of Region Break, which I thought was a great transitional show for
Hmm.
Boundary Break folks, because it's the idea of learning something new about a game that you've played for years and years and years. And so, you know, with Boundary Break, you look out of bounds to find stuff. And then with Region Break, you look outside of your region to find stuff. So I would love to find one more show that strikes it as well as those two shows do. But that has definitely helped keep the passion going, where it's like, okay, you know, I'm just so fascinated by what I'm learning here with this game when it comes to Region Break. That was a ton of fun, but man, it was a ton of work. And now it's going to be nice to be able to slip back on that old glove and just check out a game that I've really enjoyed and look at that Out of Bounds and, you know, make an episode for that. So the only time it gets really bad is when I become too focused on pleasing the fans. And so I start playing games that I'm not particularly interested in, like the God of War franchise or something like that. It's cool to be able to experience that game for the first time, but if I'm not like a hardcore fan of it, sometimes it can feel very sloggy to like to go through this game that I'm not particularly interested in, and then talk about this game that I'm not particularly interested in, and then spend hours and hours editing for this game I'm not particularly interested in. That's the time when it's at its worst. But I try to make that as infrequent as possible and just make it an experience that's on the whole, on like in general, just meant to be fun and passionate.
No, and like you said, you're able to, you know, break up the monotony by keeping it that's sort of in the same alley of video games and your same, like the Region Break. You know, it's still within that same umbrella of content, but it's different, and it's, I don't know, that's very smart. You know.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm doing now too, I don't know if you've seen it, but is the She Says the News channel. So there's a new channel that I've made as well, where it's one of the other passions I have is I like to talk about video games. And so I was like, that's not going to fit on the main channel. And it might not ever make money, but like I still have a huge passion for this. It makes me excited to talk about games finally, and not do it on Twitter where people can pick you apart because you have to like truncate like a nuanced opinion down to this, you know? So like, I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. I can just like speak freely for as long as I want. And I found out I don't talk as much as I thought I would. I was like, oh, surely like this topic's gonna be 15 minutes long, and then the final video is like 3.5 minutes. It's like, oh, that's the algorithm's not gonna like that one, but that's all I had to say about it, so I'm not gonna fluff it up. And yeah, so like that's been another way to keep the passion going, is just follow the passion. And I feel like that's another thing too, is that if you're genuinely passionate about this, the audience will follow, because I think people on YouTube more than anything just really appreciate another person's passion for something, and it kind of rubs off on folks. And so that's always been like my number one goal.
No, of course, I could see it in, again, the art of it. You know, it shows. You were talking about and I looked at your comment section. It's very positive actually compared to what I've seen on like just YouTube in general or any type of forum, right? Um, but I'm sure you would get some negative criticism. You know, it's hard to not be a creator and not get any sort of negative criticism. How do you
Right.
acknowledge the criticism? Do you take it as feedback? Do you brush it off, or do you take it real to heart? Like, oh man, you know.
Yeah, so it really does depend on how it's presented. So there's a lot of people that, you know, just say, this is what I didn't like about the video. I think you could do this better next time. I take that very, very well. I see that as like, oh, we're going to level up the content. Like, this person's giving me some insight that I didn't have before, and I can take that and I can grow and become better with the channel because of it. So like, for example, in the earliest of days, I used to try to do jokes with my content. And like, if you want an example, that the first Dark Souls video that I did is a great example of me trying to inject humor into my content, and it just didn't work. And you know, people were making comments about how cringy it was and how distracting it was and things like that. And so I just took that feedback and I was like, okay, the audience doesn't want humor, so let me just kind of remove humor from it. And then over time, I realized it's okay to like work in a very quick joke. It's really easy to work in something that's humorous, that's like, you could just say it really, really fast, and before the audience member can even take the time to understand that it even was a joke, we're moving on to the next thing. So it's like, it's very undistracting. And also, as long as I'm not trying to set up a pun or a punchline, it might be hard to even decipher that it was a joke. It can just feel like a genuine reaction to something that just happens to be funny. And so that's how the content has evolved that way. And it wouldn't have evolved that way if it weren't for comments telling me that my jokes were bad, you know? So like, I do like to take the criticism seriously. And I also, as much as I can, try to derive even the nasty comments where they're just like, all right, here's one that's very recent, and sadly I didn't get the information that I needed, but I tried to get it. There was like someone that talked about my Paper Mario episode that just came out and was like, wow, the passion's all gone, this is like such low quality or something about like that. And I just replied with, what is it about the quality that you feel like is suffering? You know, like, let me know what comes off as poor quality. And I just wanted to know. I never got the reply back from that person, sadly, but it was a genuine interest in what that person thought was a low quality, because I want the show to be better. So like, there's definitely that. The ones where it's sort of like, oh, he's a manlet, you know, like something stupid like that, or he always looks like he's crying. Um, Rolls right off the shoulders, because it's sort of like, dude, you know, you're just kind of like either you're trying to be edgy, or you know, either that or you're trying too hard to get through my skin. And it's at that point that it's like, it's so obvious what you're trying to do that it has no effect on me whatsoever, because I can see the intent and not the you know, the things that they're saying anymore. But there's that. And but the thing that does still hurt me is when, like, recently, it's not a comment, it was a whole freaking video where the guy was just like, she says is slipping up and blah blah blah, and
Oh
like
my god.
he didn't get this, so now I'm gonna do a video on all the things that he missed on Left 4 Dead. And it's like, okay, you know, maybe I made an opportunity for that and it sucks, and it does you know, it definitely hurts my feelings a bit to see that someone thought that low of my video that they need to make their own. But you know, it's also it's a learning lesson where it's like, okay, I guess I do need to shape up and make sure that I do more research before putting some of these episodes out, especially the Valve episodes, because there's so much resources that you can cite, that you can look to make sure that it's as accurate as humanly possible, which is kind of like uniquely Valve games. Most games are made in secret, whereas Valve is very open and honest about everything that they're doing. So it's like, okay, I shouldn't have rushed that one out, but that was at a time when I was trying to rush videos out to meet with the algorithm, because we were trying to experiment with, you know, with tanking views and stuff like that, and trying to fix that. So it was just a bad time to pick a Valve game during that process. So there
Yeah,
you
but
go.
you're human. Like I don't know. And then to be to the people who are like that, who are, I feel like they're drama clout, who try to aim and be combative like that, is just it's just asking for negative energy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
uh,
I do know that a lot of people on that person's video did say like, this video is a good video, but I don't think it really needed the whole introduction of you kind of like smattering on She Says this
yeah.
video, which I appreciated. I was really surprised to see that, because I too often have spent time on Twitter and seeing people, you know, gas each other up for just being jerks to one another, and like, you know,
Oh yeah.
that clout that you're talking about, usually it's fostered um, and incubated on places like Twitter. So to see some people coming up to bat for me, despite the fact that his video was great, was nice to see. It did help like soften the blow a bit, for sure.
And I was gonna ask, since you're bringing it up about like other creators, and not necessarily anyone in particular, but you know, like you said, when you first started it, you realized, oh, no one's really into this, you know, moving the camera into places where no one's really seen. I'm sure once you started that and it started getting traction, a lot of, I won't know if you call them copycats or other creators began doing it, you know. Did this ever like bother you, or was it flattering, or how did you feel about that?
Oh, yeah, it did. It bothered me a lot when it first started happening, because I was up and coming. I was not established as a big creator yet. So like, other people doing it was definitely like it was creating competition, tough competition that it just like, you just don't want to see it. And it did kind of bother me in the sense of like, dude, I came up with this idea all on my own, and all you did was just see that like a YouTube channel started doing it, and you're like, oh, I can do that too. And it kind of, it really was frustrating for a while. After a while, I realized like, as long as I keep doing the best that I can, and you know, just trying to make the show the best that I can make it, it'll stand out and it won't suffer. And um, you know, these days it's sort of like I had my time where it was like it was exclusive and it was nice. And over time, you have to accept the fact that other people are going to come in and also try out with that concept. Now, I hate people that take my content and make like listicles with it. And it's like, dude, I spent hours putting that footage together and you just grabbed it off my channel and just like,
Hmm.
you know, that sucks. And I'll never be okay with that. But like other people that are going through the same laborious process, you know, it's sort of like they will exist. You know, I'm not going to do anything to stop them from existing. If anyone ever asks me like, do you like these channels? I'll still to this day be honest and just say, well, no, because they are competing with my channel. They are competing with the attention of people that are looking for out of bounds content. But like it is at a point now too where it's like these tools and resources are so readily available now that it's just all over the place. You see like big YouTubers, small YouTubers, anywhere in between, using out of bounds tools these days for various different reasons. So it's just sort of like, um, yeah, I'll just be blatantly honest. Like, if no one else is doing it except for me, all the audiences would just be kind of funneling to me, and that would be very nice. But
Hmm.
it's not what reality is. It's not how reality works, and you do have to. I did learn to grow and mature on the subject, and just accept that it's there and it's going to be there, and the best thing you can do is just be the best you can be, and just accept that this is a part of um, entertainment, you know, in general. Like people see a good idea and they'll want it for themselves too. That's how it works. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's
No.
basically where I fall on that subject now.
Yeah, and I imagine, like you said, with the advancement of AI and tools and the way, it's just easier to, I don't know what they do, like dive into the source codes of the game and see exactly like, oh, here's unused assets or this and that. It's just, I don't know. Like you said, you were pioneering something, and then everyone just kind of jumped on it, and I don't know. I understand the idea of why would, I don't know, I'd be upset too, or I'd be upset exclusively.
It's like you said earlier, we are human, you know, and
Yeah.
I could have taken the easy, politically correct response and just been like, oh, you know what? It's the sincerest form of flattery, and competition is nothing but a good thing for everybody involved. But it's like that would be the safe answer for me. It's like, you know, at the risk of sounding a bit entitled or whatever, I don't feel like I'm entitled. I think that like I think maybe in the earliest stages I was, but again, it's sort of like you learn over time like that everybody experiences this. Anybody with a good idea experiences this, and you're not going to be the special one that doesn't have your idea interpreted in different ways by other people that love to entertain as well. So, you know, again, won't love it, but it's going to be there, and the best you can do is the only thing you can do really. So, yeah.
No, completely. And not saying that, and that's like you said, it only probably makes you want to do better content and put out the best product that you can as far as like entertainment or education. uh so I'm sure in a way it'll inspire you, even though it's not in the way you wanted to be inspired.
Yeah, you could say
um
that for sure.
I was gonna ask, so in moving on to like not as dark stuff now, I know you've had your boundary break for, or at least your channel for, it was it like 11 years, the whole channel, and then when was boundary break started?
8 years ago.
8 years. What would you say is like your like biggest, like your Columbus? No, I don't know if I could say Columbus if that, but your biggest discovery, or like or your proudest moment, like where, because I know you've had interviews with like developers, you've had voiceover artists guest star.
Yeah.
What was like your, oh man, this is the coolest job, this is the greatest thing moment in your career?
Oh, uh, man, the greatest moment. So the first question you asked for the record was like, what was your greatest discovery? And to answer that one real quick, that one always kind of goes to the Sailor Moon manga in Punch Out for Wii. So there's like a one of those in between rounds moments where Piston Hondo is reading a book and he's speaking Japanese. You don't know what he's saying, and all you can see, the camera is just pointing at the back of the book, which is nondescript. And if you took the camera over to the pages of the book, they are real Sailor Moon manga panels. That does not belong in a Nintendo game. So there's a whole backstory behind that, but that was the discovery I made at the time, and like, wow, like that was insane. And no one had ever discovered it up to that point, or at least not publicly discussed it up to that point. So like that was huge. So like the biggest career moment, man, that's a tough one because like there's some really cool stuff that has happened, like being nominated for best gaming channel and going to an award show. I didn't win, but it was still really cool to like be at one of those things.
Yeah.
And then also getting to talk with all the original creators of Donkey Kong Country, that was huge. And there was like one time I got invited to a YouTube gamer party, and I saw Jeff Keighley and James Rolfe, the Angry Video Game Nerd, and Ego Raptor and Jacksepticeye, like Vinny Vinesauce. They were all at this party, which that was insane. I'm trying. I mean, like one of the greatest moments, honestly, is probably like I would say like Too Many Games. I mean, PAX East was pretty good too, but I'd say that Too Many Games and no, okay, I'm going to say PAX East. PAX East, there was one year where they gave me one of the biggest rooms in the convention, and we managed to fill every single seat, and the crowd was just like explosive and so awesome. Like I would tell the audience, like, yeah, just shout out anything you want to see, and then you just hear like people all over being like, look behind the stadium lights, and like go inside of the car, and like we'd go inside the car, and then the crowd would erupt because you'd see like a texture sheet inside of the character model or something. It was great. And then after the panel was over, you know, just having a whole bunch of fans swarm you and just, you know, want to talk to you, and just, you know, I felt really appreciated, you know, during that time. And it definitely, you know, you get hundreds of thousands of views on videos and stuff, but seeing the physical people there and actually hearing their reactions and stuff, like that was incredible. So like it was just definitely surreal to just see like a moment in time where there was a whole bunch of people that knew what Boundary Break was, and they all came together to see Boundary Breaking live on the stage, and that was awesome.
That's cool. That sounds cool. Like the whole Goosebumps moment, like to get that big pop like that from the crowd. That's got to be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I was gonna ask. And this is kind of you don't have to answer. I'm prefacing this. You don't have to answer.
Okay.
Did you ever find anything that like you can't talk about that you can't talk about, like something like a CIA type thing where it scared you, or like a developer maybe like told you, hey, you shouldn't have found this, you need to like shut this down right now, or you know, like a Winnie the Pooh document that made fun of Chinese, and I don't know, like just
Has
something
that
where
existed?
I remember there was a game that got like delisted because it wasn't even you had to take the camera, but it had like Chinese writing, and it made fun of the Chinese dictator that he looked like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh
and
wow.
and they like had to completely like get that game off of the store for that. Like it was like a really bad thing that it said
Wow.
that. But
Dang.
have you?
I know
Yeah,
about the
something like
meme,
that.
but I didn't know that was in a game. So to answer your question, um, there's nothing. I mean, I've seen like inappropriate stuff, like, you know, for whatever reason, there's fully modeled breasts underneath like someone's clothing in a game and stuff like that. And it's like, whoa, what is that doing there? You know, that's not supposed to happen. Someone was very horny, clearly. But like, as far as like, I've gotten in trouble once before. Like, so with Animal Crossing, like, here's the whole story. Nintendo has a policy about content just like mine. And it's pretty clear that they don't like channels like mine as a company. I think that there's a lot of employees at Nintendo of America that do love my channel or appreciate my channel or just don't see the threat in my channel. And so the powers that be usually leave me alone. And I am very thankful for that because I've been able to cover a lot of Nintendo games without a shutdown. And I've seen that happen to other creators. And it's so sad when that happens. And thankfully, that just never happened to me. One time, though. One time, I made a Animal Crossing New Horizons episode of Boundary Break, and it got shut down by Nintendo. And I didn't know why. I couldn't figure out for the life of me, like, why this video of all videos, because I had actually already covered Animal Crossing New Horizons once before this, and that one was left alone. So why is it this one? And I can only speculate. And I think that the reason why it was taken down, and I always want to apologize to Kotaku if I'm wrong about this or for just throwing them under the bus when trying to tell this story, but I think it was an article that was written by one of the editors at Kotaku. I really appreciate that they cover the show. It means a lot because it helps get eyes on the channel. But this one in particular, I think may have gone too far because I know that people at Nintendo always look at Kotaku. And like the Nintendo employees' eyes are always on Kotaku articles. And they wrote an article that was basically, the title of the article was, "The Animal Crossing Villager is a never nude." And then, and then the image that they used was a image from my show where the Animal Crossing Villager is completely naked except for a black bar across the chest and a black bar, or like black underwear, essentially, tied to the skin of the character. And in the context of the show, I just basically say, like, this is really cool that, like, they have a safeguard in place because you're not supposed to see this. Normally, when you remove all the clothes from a villager in Animal Crossing, they got boxer shorts and a tank top. But if you could remove even that, the boxer shorts and the tank top, underneath that is a texture of black to make sure that it covers up the naughty bits. And I thought that was a really cool fail safe. And so like it was sort of like a praise to the developers of being like, wow, in case there was ever a glitch, you guys thought of this. That's really cool. But Kotaku wrote it as, hey, guess what? We found never nudes in an Animal Crossing game, and that's too salacious, you know?
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And so it's my theory that someone from Nintendo saw that article and was like, shut them down. Cut it off at the source. Shut that video down. And so I got a copyright takedown. And I had to make a whole video explaining to Nintendo, like, look, I'm so sorry. Like, I am no threat to you. I love Nintendo. I would love to meet the developers of Nintendo someday. You know, I have a reverence for it. Nintendo's like my favorite gaming corporation. And so making games for Nintendo games means too much to me to just suddenly stop because of something like this. So please understand that I'm not trying to tell people how to do these things. I also even made a disclaimer at the start of the video that there's going to be no tutorial on how to do what I do, and that it's strictly for entertainment purposes, and that I'm doing as much as I can to maintain the integrity of Nintendo's online games, as well as just the integrity of piracy, and trying not to endorse it. And then I think it worked because 30 days later, there was no response from Nintendo. And so because there was 30 days that passed, the claim was lifted. And the video is now back up for anybody to watch these days, which is really cool. But that was the one time that I think I might have found something I shouldn't have found. I think that's what it was.
Well, out of context with Kotaku, they made it seem like you were being malicious, but you were literally like, no, this is an interesting way, even if it's like anti hot coffee, you know, like just in case they have these fail safes, and they kind of of course, clickbait. I get it. You know, you want to make a headline that sounds like an attention grabber, but that was not your intention at all. You know.
No, no, not at all. Yeah, I celebrate the game development side of it. I thought it was really cool that they thought of that.
Oh yeah, no, and then Nintendo is, I'm sure, well, at least for you, like you said, they're pretty leeway with what you do, but they are very strict. I know, right? As far
Yeah,
as anything that's created with their IPs.
that's right.
Um, I know. Can now, like, I know you said you still enjoy playing games. That's a good thing. Can you regularly play any game now without thinking, "Oh my god, I can break this boundary. Oh my god, I can go through this or go under this." You know?
The thought does come from time to time. I will say that being the creator of Boundary Break, it definitely has somewhat ruined the immersion that I used to have with video games. There's definitely exceptions to the rule sometimes. Like Elden Ring, for the most part, I was able to fully immerse myself in that experience and I loved it. But there was still times where I was like, I wonder what that would look like out of bounds. Like that is such a weird, interesting thing. How do they make that work? And I can't wait to take a camera and find out. But yeah, it does kind of mess with my enjoyability with video games to some degree. But you know, I still enjoy video games quite a great deal. And I mean, excuse me. Sometimes it is a bit redundant. It feels like to be working on a video game all day and then come like leave my office chair only to go to my couch to play more video games. Sometimes I get that burnout. But like, yeah, I still play games quite a bit. Like right now, I'm playing Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door remake. I'm enjoying that right now, so it's been a good time. And the one thing I have been doing is playing a lot of Dance Dance Revolution to help me lose weight, and I've been getting pretty good at that game too. So, you know, that's been a journey and a half. I can't wait to turn that into a video. But like, man, I've lost 15 pounds now
Oh
playing.
wow.
Yeah, I don't have like a lot of pounds to lose. My target weight's 140. The most I've weighed was 180. So, yeah, actually, no, I guess I lost more than 15 pounds. I'm at 158 now. So it's been years since I've been sub 160.
Hmm.
But yeah, I weigh in at like with 158 pounds now. So I got 18 more pounds to go to hit my target weight.
And still do with video games. That's great.
Yeah, still playing video games.
That's great. Couple more questions. I wonder, because I used to work at like a Home Depot, and I would see like a guy that would walk to the bus every day after work, and then like leave, get out of the area, and I feel like he's an NPC, and as soon as he's out of my view, then he's gone to save memory in the world. Do you feel like the world could be something like that? Like that our world is like a game engine, and that when people go out of your way, like memories being saved, sort of like a video game.
Oh, I've humored the thought, but of course, I I'd have to be suffering from some level of psychosis if I genuinely believed that, you know. So thankfully, no, I'm still here in reality. I know I'm not the hero of any story. I am merely a side character, and yeah, I mean, like, still, it does make you think. Like, one thing that stinks is that every single year I tell myself I'm going to do an April Fool's Day episode of Boundary Break where I break the boundaries of real life, and I have all sorts of ideas as far as like what I would do with that episode. Like for example, I'd put a GoPro inside of my dishwasher and have the dishwasher run with the GoPro inside and show you what's happening when when your dishes are being washed. Stuff like that. Uh, but I always get busy every single time. Like I'm always like I have like a sponsor that I have to fulfill or something, and so like I miss the opportunity to make it. But I think that one would be hilarious, and I would love to do it sometime.
Oh yeah, like some sort of like the Matrix, like you see deja vu over and over again, and there's a glitch or some sort of way you found that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
um, in I don't know what you believe, universe, dimension, reality, in another lifetime. if you had the same amount of subscribers, what would you want your channel to be about if it's not about gaming?
Oh man. Um, Honestly, like the new channel that I'm doing, She Says the News, would be like a great channel to be able to hit 1 million, because it is less work because I'm doing everything off the cuff and like trying not to hold myself to a level of quality that is scripted and stuff like that. And then I have an editor, so like to be able to get that one to 1 million and just know that like wow, there's 1 million people here that care what I think about Paper Mario, like that would be really freaking cool. Um, and like there's always just a feeling of wanting to express myself when it comes to video game opinions and stuff. So like I feel like that would never go away after 1 million subscribers. Whereas with Boundary Break, it is tunnel vision to a very specific thing. It's like yeah, I managed to break out of that a bit with Region Break, but for the most part, it's like I am locked to doing this one thing. Whereas talking about games, it can mean so many different things. It can just be like, what happened with the Metroid series? And oh my God, Nintendo just shut down this emulation site. Or like, oh man, you know what my favorite Zelda games are? It's this, and this. Like, there's so much different things you can do with it. And
Mhm.
that level of freedom is kind of where I would love to be at, where I could just, express myself and not have to worry about just destroying myself getting a game like a 60-hour game done in time for a video that drops in 2 weeks. So
Jeez.
yeah, stuff like that. So that
Well, yeah.
it's funny that you asked that question. Yeah, because like I am trying to establish an audience on as we speak with basically the Dream Channel, but yeah, it's like we're nowhere close to that yet. I think we just hit 3,000 subscribers, so very very far away from that goal. But
No, but I know you said you started out with the 150 years ago, so I'm sure it is attainable. Very very well, of course.
oh, thanks, man. Thanks for giving me that vote of confidence. Appreciate that.
Lastly, here, any advice you'd want to give to aspiring YouTubers, content creators, or something you'd want to first tell yourself years ago back, like what you could help yourself out or give you exponentially amount of advice,
Yeah. So, best advice to aspiring YouTubers is A, come up with an idea that no one else is doing, but you find out like that people want to watch it, and you can only find that out by putting it out there and seeing if they like it. Or B, have a personality that people can't ignore. You're doing the same thing as everybody else, but you are a individual that is so uniquely charming that people can't ignore you. And like those are I think the two winning choices to get yourself really hit the ground running on YouTube. So that's like the biggest thing. YouTubers, I mean, like usually it's not YouTubers, but I actually have seen YouTubers be like, listen, if you don't have a great audio quality, you'll never make it on YouTube. It's not really about that. I mean, like, yeah, it would be nice to have a nice camera. It would be nice to have a nice microphone, and they do help to kind of sell the idea that you know what you're doing. But honestly, like, if you have a camera phone and you just are like this really, really interesting guy or girl or whatever, like, people will gravitate towards you regardless. And that's the important thing. So sometimes it's nice to have both. If you could do both, then oh man, you are just golden at that point. But I think one or the other is good enough to really kind of establish a career here on YouTube. It is all about just standing out amongst the sea of people that want the same thing that you do. And so that really is like you got to brainstorm. Like if you really want it that bad, think about that. Think about what it is that no one else is doing and do it, and see if it works. That's like my number one piece of advice.
Yeah,
And
no,
and
just
and one last thing too is I'm sorry, I just want to just
no,
point out,
no, no worries.
don't start off doing this thinking that it's going to be the moneymaker. Do it because you love to do it. And if you don't love to do it, then it never was for you in the first place. So make sure you're passionate about it too.
No, yeah, exactly. Because otherwise, it's just hollow. You're not gonna get anywhere doing something that you just think other people are going to enjoy, but you're not going to enjoy yourself. Do the content you'd want to watch,
Yeah,
right? I mentioned, yeah. No,
absolutely.
but yeah, no. Thank you, she says, for your time. I really appreciate it. I know I got your most of your channels there at the bottom. They can find you at youtube.com at Boundary Break, on Twitter at Boundary Break. I know you have your other channels there. I'll put them in the descriptions. Any other places you want to shout out?
Yeah, YouTube search She Says the News. So the spell She Says, and I'm sure you can probably find it like in this video title, but it's SHESEZ, and then the news. And that's the third channel that we've been talking about here a little bit in this interview. It would be great to have people there because it's so small that every person counts. So if anybody here is watching this and wants to have a big impact as far as helping me out, checking out that channel would do me wonders. So yeah. Outside of that, I think you got the rest of it. It looks great.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll definitely have all that in the description. Thank you so much for your time and your content. I really appreciate it. It's not only fun but educating. I really do love the region breaks and stuff like that. The boundary breaks are just fun to watch, and I really hope the best for you, that you keep continuing to love what you do.
Well, thanks, man. I wish the best for you too. I hope that whatever you're trying to do here on YouTube, it really takes off for you. And thanks again for having me on. It means a lot. Thanks for thinking of me as one of your interviewees. So appreciate
No,
that.
yeah, thank you, and I want to thank everyone for listening. And we'll see y'all next time. Take care. Bye.